Hold a Roman coin in your hand. Feel the weight of it. This small piece of silver bought a soldier's meal, paid a senator's bribe, funded an empire's war. For 700 years, the Roman denarius was the most trusted currency on earth. Then one emperor needed more money than Rome had, so he did something quietly, something small, something that felt completely harmless at the time. He melted down the silver coins and added a little copper, just a little. Nobody noticed at first. Then he did it again, and again, and again. By the time Rome collapsed, the denarius contained less than 5% silver. 700 years of trust, destroyed in a single generation. And here's the question that should keep you up at night. Every single currency that has ever existed has done exactly this. Every one, without exception. The only question is, how far along is yours? There have been over 775 currencies in recorded human history. Today, there are 180. That means roughly 595 currencies no longer exist. They did not retire gracefully. They did not merge peacefully into something better. They collapsed. They hyperinflated. They were repudiated by the very governments that created them and abandoned by the very citizens who once trusted them with their life savings. Think of a currency like a promise written on paper. The government says this piece of paper is worth something. Trust us. And for a while, people do. But a promise is only as strong as the person making it. And governments across every century, every continent, and every ideology face the same temptation. Spend more than you have. Print what you need. Worry about the consequences later. It has happened in ancient China, in revolutionary France, in Weimar Germany, in Zimbabwe, in Venezuela, in Argentina, again and again and again, without a single exception in all of recorded history. The mechanism is always identical, only the costume changes. Here's how a currency dies, every time, in 5 stages. Stage 1 is trust. A currency is born with a promise, usually backed by something real: gold, silver, land, or military power. The people believe in it. Trade flows, economies grow. The currency feels permanent and the future feels secure. Stage 2 is temptation. The government needs more money than it has. A war, a crisis, an election promise that cannot be kept without funding, a banking system that needs a bailout. The options are raise taxes, which is unpopular, cut spending, which is painful, or print money, which is invisible. They always choose print. Not all at once, never dramatically, always gradually, always with a reasonable explanation, emergency measures, temporary stimulus, extraordinary circumstances that justify extraordinary actions. Stage 3 is erosion. The new money enters the economy and prices begin to rise, slowly at first. People notice their grocery bill is slightly higher, their rent has increased, their savings buy slightly less than last year. The government calls it inflation, a natural phenomenon, nothing to worry about, a temporary side effect of recovery. But inflation is not a natural phenomenon. Inflation is the sound of your money being stolen, quietly, legally, with the full authority of the state behind every note in your wallet. Stage 4 is acceleration. Now the government has a problem. Its debts are growing, its promises are expensive, and the only tool it has left is the same tool that created the problem in the first place: print more. Each new wave of printing devalues the last wave. The currency enters a feedback loop it cannot escape. Prices rise faster than wages. Savings evaporate overnight. The middle class who hold their wealth in the currency are systematically and completely destroyed. The wealthy who hold their wealth in land, gold, foreign assets, and businesses survive. Always, without exception. Stage 5 is collapse or reset. Eventually, the currency loses the one thing it cannot function without: trust. Not in a single dramatic moment, in 1,000 small moments. A merchant who starts pricing in a foreign currency, a citizen who converts their savings to gold, a government that can no longer borrow at any interest rate, no matter how high, a population that stops believing the promise. And then one day, the paper is just paper. The most terrifying example in modern history is not Zimbabwe. It is not Venezuela. It is Weimar Germany between 1921 and 1923. Because Weimar Germany was not a poor country. It was not a corrupt backwater with weak institutions. It was one of the most educated, industrialized, culturally advanced nations on earth. And within 24 months, its currency became literally worthless. At the start of 1921, $1 bought 90 German marks. By November 1923, $1 bought 4.2 trillion marks. People carried money to the market in wheelbarrows, not because they were rich, because a wheelbarrow full of marks could not buy a loaf of bread. Workers demanded to be paid twice a day because the money they received in the marks.
Morning was worth measurably less by the afternoon. A woman left a wheelbarrow of cash outside a shop while she went inside. Someone stole the wheelbarrow and left the money on the pavement. This was not ancient history. This was not a primitive economy in a distant era. This was 1923. a modern, industrialized European nation. And it did not happen because Germany was weak. It happened because Germany's government chose the printing press over the pain of real fiscal discipline, the same choice every government in history has eventually made. The Weimar collapse did not just destroy savings, it destroyed the social fabric of an entire civilization. The middle class, teachers, doctors, engineers, civil servants, academics, who had saved responsibly and played by the rules their entire working lives, were wiped out completely and permanently. Their savings, their pension funds, their government bonds, their life's work reduced to nothing in under 2 years. The vacuum that created the rage, the humiliation, the desperate search for someone to blame provided the exact social and political conditions for the rise of Adolf Hitler. Historians argue endlessly about the causes of World War II, but very few argue that the destruction of the German middle class by hyperinflation was anything other than a direct and critical precondition for everything that followed. A currency collapse is never just an economic event, it is a social event, a political event, a civilizational event that echoes for generations, and the modern relevance is impossible to ignore. The US dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. 97%. That is not a collapse, not yet. It is a slow collapse, a managed collapse, a collapse spread across 110 years, so gradual that each generation simply accepts their diminished purchasing power as the natural order of things. The mechanism is identical to Rome, to Weimar, to Zimbabwe. Only the speed is different. Every currency in history has died, not because of bad luck, not because of external enemies or natural disasters or forces beyond human control, because of the same internal choice made by every government that has ever existed and spent beyond your means print to cover the gap steal from savers to pay for it and call it monetary policy. The Roman emperor who debased the denarius believed he was solving a temporary problem with a temporary measure. The Weimar government believed the printing would stop when the crisis passed. Every government believes its situation is different, its currency is special, its institutions are stronger, and its economists are smarter than every government that came before it. They are all wrong. They have always been wrong. The only honest question is not whether your currency will die. The question history forces you to ask, Honidat, the one question every Roman citizen, every Weimar saver, every Zimbabwean pensioner wished they had asked sooner, is whether you will be holding it when it does. If the US dollar has lost 97% of its value in 110 years, and the Roman denarius lasted 700 years before collapsing completely, which currency do you think dies next? And what are you doing right now to make sure you are not the last one holding the paper when it happens? Tell me in the comments.